Good morning, everyone. I'm sorry to be the one to stand between you and lunch, but I'll really try and be quick and just to give some feedback on the progress on the building committee. And the purpose of today's feedback is really to basically get the go-ahead so that we can start proceeding. We've done a lot of background work and a lot of studies. So just in terms of the agenda, we'll give some general feedback. There's some information we want to share with you. And then we look at a number of building options. I think as we go along, we find more and more options available to us. Now's the time to narrow them down. Then we want to give you an indication of the costs. And then there are two proposals that we'd like the congregation to vote on. And the first one is how we communicate with this project. We can't keep having special general meetings, so we want to create a mechanism that we can firstly share the information and then make decisions as a body quickly. And then also just to give us a guideline on the budget that we work through. And then if there's any discussion we like to have. We really would value any feedback, any ideas, so that we can, be inclusive in what we do. Just in terms of feedback, we've got quite a lot of information from the municipality. As we said last time, the property is an agricultural holding character, so it has certain laws that go with it. But one of the key and very important thing is that as an agricultural holding, we have consent to use it as a place of worship for up to 200 people. So that means we don't have to go into an exercise of rezoning. Rezoning would mean we would have to build the road. It would incur a lot of extra cost. I think it would be very close to R1 million before we've even put a brick on top of another. So that is the one thing. And it has some conditions. So the maximum amount is 200 people, I think, which is fine for us. We need to submit a site plan. I think we'll need to submit, depending on the kind of building, a type of plan. And then there's some regulations we have to abide by. We can't go, it's things like we have to stay within the boundaries. We have to have a geological report, as we already have. We can't go higher than 10 meters. So there's some technicalities that we have to abide to, but these aren't necessarily problematic to us at all. And then the other thing that we were a little nervous of, and unnecessarily so, is the cost of getting the services connected, electricity, sewerage and water. And being an agricultural holding, this cost is really minimal. It's 1,000 or 2,000 rand for the connections. So that is really a big blessing. The other feedback that we had is Pastor and I met with the Sporting Hub, the owner. So we have this relationship with the Sporting Hub. They've changed ownership. So we have a relationship with the business, not with the person. And the owners of the business have changed, and we engaged the lady, and they have very ambitious plans, but they don't have the money. And we're going to have to manage this. We're going to have to keep considering them, but we need to understand, and I think we put it to her, that the priority is the church. Her grand plans will cost her a lot of money that she probably will have to go and borrow. Whether someone will lend her the money on property that doesn't belong to her is questionable, but that's in her court. So we will stay respectful of what she's trying to do, and we can be partners. Remember this, we see this as a partnership in ministry, not just a business transaction. So we need to keep that in mind. All right, just in terms of the building option, we had a few criteria. It's interesting, going back into the records, there was probably 15 pages worth of criteria that we had in the past, and we've really narrowed it down. We're unlikely to have a lot more than 200 people worshiping consistently with us. So the 200 seats is fine, so the building would need to be able to house about 200 people. There's certain things that we'd like to have permanently installed, things like the sound system and that. It's not ideal that we move the equipment around. It's expensive and it doesn't last forever, and there's a lot of wear and tear. So those kind of things we want. We would like to see the pastor there during the week as well, so that people have a go-to place. That's part of the idea, is to have permanency in the neighborhood, so that we would like to have a permanent safe place where the pastor can have an office and people can come and visit him. The other thing is we need facilities for Sunday school. Yes, we have the school available next door, but we'd preferably like our own area to do Sunday school. And being good Baptists, we need a place where we can make food and serve coffee and tea. That would not be Baptist. And then, of course, we need secure storage. That's quite a critical thing. Fortunately, the Sporting Hub has someone living on the property permanently, which, we could contribute towards, because it would form part of the security component of the property. So the first option, it wasn't the first one. We started out assuming we're not going to go the brick and mortar route. And Kobus and Esme have some experience, and they sort of said, the costs on a basic structure are not that prohibitive. So it is an option that we looked at, and we did the costing on that. So this would be a more permanent kind of thing. So we would really have to plan very well, and we'd have to plan a lot more into the future as well. So if we would want to expand, if we would want to, rezone and do something totally different, one would need to do that in mind at the beginning. So that is a challenge. The thing is, with anyone who's built, the bricks and mortar and roof are normally not the full cost. There are always a lot of surprises. Most people will tell you, if you budget for building, double what you had in mind, type of thing. So that is one of the things. And then also, inherently, it may take longer, and we'd have to submit significant plans. So we did an exercise with costing, and just to get the basic building up at a reasonable size, we're almost at the limit of our budget already. We're not discounting this at all, and we need to look into it. But this was our first finding, and Seth was kind enough to put together some plans, and this is just. I'm sorry, it's not that clear, but I'll make this presentation available to everyone that you can go through it. So we have some ideas, and Seth has done an initial sketch on this. The layout is really to have a number of facilities and rooms, and this was just an idea, just to start getting the cost element in. And here we're looking at just putting up the bare bones. We're already in excess of 650,000 as we stand here. So that was the brick and mortar option. The next option that we spoke about is these semi-permanent tents. We have a number of churches who have them. Kobus and I went to see a business, and they actually took us to a site where they're busy putting up a big tent at a venue. You get some beautiful options with these, and they are very, very nice. I think our initial indication, and we still need to exhaust this completely, is if you want to do it properly, it's quite expensive. We can go the very simple, white frame tent route, but it has some limitations. And the thing is, these are not maintenance free. We can all see the white tents, how grubby they look, after a long winter, dusty winter. On the inside, it's an issue. They're very poorly insulated. So in summer, they're going to be super hot. In winter, they're going to be super cold. You need air conditioning and heating, which has implications. We'll have to change the type of electricity we supply. We'll definitely have to go three-phase to heat that sort of room. And then the other thing is, it's not as secure. Even though you'll see, you can have glass panels built and everything, it still remains a tent, mainly on the roof, but the sides can be done. So this is an option. Indications are, we haven't had the final cost yet, that it's going to be quite costly. And then we showed this last time, we seem to tend towards a shipping container-based structure. And we've done quite detailed costings on this. And if, this is not the right dimension, but this is a photograph. So we would use shipping containers as the facilities for classrooms, offices, toilets, kitchen. Have a bit of an entrance porch where we can do, the fellowship after the service, where we have serving hatches on the outside and even on the inside as well, so that we have flexibility with that. As you can see here, the inside can be finished quite nicely. It can be very tidily done. We have to look at things like acoustics, permanent installation of things like the sound speakers and that. So At this stage, from a cost point of view, this looks quite gettable on the budget that we have. And the thing is, it's modular as well. We don't need to convert all the containers immediately to a usable space. We can do that as we get the funds, because it is quite costly, because they also have to be insulated. I think probably less so because they're under roof already. And this can be very, very nicely done. And then there's some other advantages. So if we, again, Seth has put together a bit of a plan. Some of the detail is not accurate here. We're probably not going to go the stack door route. We're probably going to have a big barn door. We've engaged with people like Kwesi on the sound. He says we really do need a desk at the back. It doesn't really help putting that desk in open space, so we'll probably have barn doors from the sides opening to the center. Those are just finer details that we're talking, and that's why input and feedback is quite important. So you'll see this is, and I'm really sorry it's not clear. So the perimeter, it's really a U shape. That would be the containers. So in total, it will be 5 containers. And each one of them can then be used with entrances directly into the hall or from the outside. Certain you'll want the entrance from the outside, others you want access from the inside. The advantage there is that we don't need to pour off. The floor is quite an expensive component. So here, the containers just need to stand on little stands. So we only need to do the floor for the inside where the actual seating is going to be. And this is in the region of 190 square meters, which would quite easily fit. So just to give you an idea, the 12 meters on the inside is to the end of these courts and to the end of that court. So it's pretty close to the size that we have now, just not with this space. And we can use the space quite optimally. The other nice thing is that you can cut up these containers. So what Seth has come up here is on the front. We can cut open that container entirely and create a little stage and save space that way. So those are the ideas, and we really need to come to a point of finality where we say this is the route we're going to go. So we have a little bit more work to do when we come with a hard and fast proposal to the church, and so this is where we are at the moment. In terms of a site plan, you'll see Seth has also put together a site plan, and I think this really just serves a purpose of showing how small the actual building is on this huge piece of property. So we limited that we have to put the property in the middle based on the geological report, and obviously this will move around in consideration with the sporting hub as well. So this is not final. One of the key criteria is we need, for every 4.5 seats, we need 1 parking space. So we'll need, for 200 people, we'll need in the region of 50 parking spaces, which should not be a problem with the kind of area we have. This is really the important part in terms of, where your input is needed. So currently, these are the cost breakdowns very, very roughly, and we'll need to look at them in finer detail, but this is what we've come up with. And what we basically want to ask the congregation is, can we go forward with this as a budget? At some point, we are quite likely to run out of money, and we may need to come back to you again, but to give us an amount to start with and get quite far to a point where we can just gather. It might not be the finished item, but just so that we have a place of our own to gather and that the community around us and the school can use as well. So we're looking at a number in the region of 650,000. We've specifically not looked at what's available and taken it all, because we're going to have some contingency going forward as well. So that is the idea of costs. So to us, there are 2 proposals we'd like to vote on for the members today. One is to be able to communicate with the church through our WhatsApp, the congregational WhatsApp group, but there will be times where we'll need to put certain proposals to the vote. And for that reason, we would need to create a members-only WhatsApp group. This is not to be exclusive. This is just to be able to use the polling or the voting tool that you have on WhatsApp. So you can send out a question and you can vote yes or no. So that would be, we would communicate it that voting is taking place on the general church group, but then just so that the members can vote. And it's a nice auditable process, so there won't be any questions. The voting can take place unanimously, or you can have your name done to the vote, and I think that gives it some comfort to people to do it. So that is the first thing that we want to ask. Can we use that as a way of communicating it? We don't want to make it the centerpiece of what the church is doing, but just to send updates and then request your feedback and input in terms of giving us a go-ahead on to do things when we need to. So, can we put that to the vote? And
just jump in here. So we're going to deal with the first proposal now. But just before we get into that, are there any questions from the membership regarding the presentation and all that? Just to give you a fair chance to contribute. There is a time for a discussion at the end, I believe. So, but just quickly, I want to just gauge, where are you guys as a membership sitting with the presentation? Are we happy? Are there questions? Yes, Neil.
Just to repeat the question that Neil mentioned, the Sporting Hub currently does have toilet facilities also in a container, which are quite acceptable to use. They're not bad at all. And the question from Neil was, do we consider using them as well? And the answer is yes, as long as it fits in. I think currently they're plumbed into the school's effluent and water process, but that can be changed once we have our own connection. So the answer is yes, and we look at all options.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, cool. So now we're going to deal with the first proposal. It's to create a members-only WhatsApp group for the purposes of the building. Is there anyone who seconds that proposal from the membership? Okay, I see some seconding. So we're just going to then have a quick vote by hands. All in favor of creating the members-only WhatsApp group for purposes of voting? Okay, we'll note that down in the minutes. Thank you, Wayne. On to the next proposal.
Any objections? I think it's important to hear if there's anyone who
objects,
who has a good reason to object. Okay, so there's none. I'll just stand there.
We will do our best to protect your information with this group as well, because that was my only concern, is you can't vote anonymously on this platform. So if there are those sorts of concerns, please chat to me. We will do our best to address those issues as well. So we are aware of that, just so you know.
Just in terms of the Constitution, there are only a few elements where we vote by ballot, where the Constitution requires us to vote by ballot. One of them was the appointment of a pastor, and so there are some technicalities. For general running of the church, they normally, ballot by hand, so there's full transparency. We have no agenda in this, and if people have concerns or objections, please voice them, that we can discuss them. There's no reason why we can't accommodate one another when we have different ideas or different focuses. All right. The next item is really for the building committee to go ahead with the general budget of around 650,000 before we come back to the church to ask for more money, so that we can get this project going.
So, questions on the second proposal, approval of the budget. Oh, you were quick. Any questions regarding the budget from the membership? Okay, then I'll ask my question. Are we giving the building committee the license to choose the option they deem best? Is that inclusive of this vote?
So before we actually proceed, we will finalize the plans and put those to the congregation first. The idea is to have the 650 as a number, is that we know how much and what we can do. So that's the reason for it. But before we actually proceed and start spending the money, we will make a presentation with the full detail of the plans to the congregation. So Velen asked, how much do we have in the building fund? So the last time I looked, Jenny, it was 770,000. So we're giving ourselves over 100,000 just as a contingency. Once we have that building up, we have no need for a building fund anymore. So I always joke to people, and I always say, the worst, I really don't like the idea that the Lord comes and we have this big fat bank balance. It really wouldn't make sense. We need to use this money.
Okay, are we all happy with the budget? So it's just clear, we're not voting on which option. They will present that to us, but this is to give them the license so we can start moving forward with this project. Okay, so anyone who seconds the proposal? Awesome, let's vote. All in favor? Any against? Any abstentions? Awesome. Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So formally the proposals carry. Any other items or discussions? Any volunteers who want to serve? Anyone who has skills? We already have some nice experience. Koos has got experience with building. Gary's our electricity guru. Kobus, them have a lot of experience as well.
And if you're not a member yet, you're more than welcome to help as well. We're not turning away based on membership, just so you know. So if you're keen to get involved, put up your hand.
Yeah, I mean, it's not just members who can give feedback. But it's good to join the exclusive club for. All right. Again, thank you for your time.
That's us done? Yeah. Okay, that then concludes our meeting, our special general meeting. Thank you so much for your time and your participation. Let us just close in a prayer and pray for our building as a collective. Heavenly Father, we just want to say thank you that your gospel gives us purpose. And Lord, we ask that throughout this project of putting up a building, we never lose sight of that purpose, of your gospel. But Lord, we ask you throughout this process that you give us wisdom, you give us grace, and you help us keep the doors open for everyone. We ask this in your name. Amen.